This week we watched The People vs. Larry Flynt, which stars Woody Harrelson as the iconoclastic founder of Hustler magazine, Larry Flynt. Larry Flynt was a very vocal and very entertaining advocate for freedom of speech during the Reagan era. What makes him so likable is that he just really didn't care about how people perceived him, and he used his wealth and fame to troll the religious right and feminists and the US government. Basically any group that thought freedom of speech was negotiable.
Sure.
Larry Flynt is a legendary pre-internet troll, which might be best exemplified by his 1984 presidential campaign, where he ran as a Republican.
I am Larry Flynt. I hereby announce my candidacy for the presidency of these United States of America. One of your colleagues said on the floor that no decent member of Congress would accept Hustler. That's exactly why I sent it to you in the first place. You're all a bunch of low-life, indecent, puke-infested maggots that should be hounded from office for being political, inept quacks, spelled Quacks. Fuck you, motherfuckers.
He's a bipolar lunatic, and I love him.
That is also the impression that I got.
This episode is our official salute to the man who should have been president in 1984 and the publisher of the greatest porno magazine of the 70s and 80s, Hustler magazine. People vs. Larry Flynt was directed by Academy Award winner Milos Forman, who's probably most well known for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Amadeus. He also directed the Andy Kaufman biopic Man on the Moon. Forman received the nomination for Best Director for The People vs. Larry Flynt, but lost to Mel Gibson, who won Best Director in 1996 for the film Braveheart. I generally like Milos Forman's films. He always gets great performances out of his cast. He's very much like an actor's director.
Sure, yeah.
And the performances tend to be the most memorable part of his films and kind of like the center focus. Woody Harrelson was nominated for Best Actor but lost to Nicolas Cage for Leaving Las Vegas. Interesting note about casting, the brother of Larry Flynt, Jimmy Flynt, is played by Woody Harrelson's real-life brother, Brett Harrelson, who I had no idea was an actor.
That's cool.
Edward Norton plays Flynt's young attorney, Alan Isaacman. Courtney Love plays Larry Flynt's wife, Althea, which is another interesting casting choice that kind of works, even though Courtney Love's not the best actress, but she pulls off this role, and the casting obviously has a bit to do with her reputation. Milos Forman likes casting non-actors. He also used Courtney Love again in Man on the Moon, and he uses in this film James Carville, who's like a political strategist, plays a part. Norm Macdonald plays a journalist. The real-life Larry Flynt plays a judge in the film, and the director manages to get realistic performances out of all of these people.
Yeah, right.
You know, good on him, I guess. He sees the potential for plugging somebody into a role who might not be an actor, but maybe fits for whatever reason. You know?
And then, he's able to pull it off where all these didn't seem hand-fisted or, like, it didn't seem like they were acting necessarily. I just believed their performances.
Yeah, even Norm Macdonald is, like, super believable. And, a lot of times you see him acting, he feels kind of stiff.
Yeah, he's just goofing around normally. But no, it was, he's only in one scene, really, but...
I recommend The People vs. Larry Flynt. It can be a little cheesy, a little on the nose at times, but overall, very entertaining flick. 3 stars, not Foreman's best, but another solid entry in his catalog. This film is probably most memorable for the performance of Woody Harrelson as Larry Flynt, which is pretty entertaining.
Is that an American flag you have on there, sir?
I have fashioned this American flag into a diaper because if you're going to treat me like a baby, I'm going to act like one.
I sold this to my girlfriend. We both watched it together. I sold it to her as a courtroom drama because that's what I thought I was getting into. And then the whole beginning was just had so many titties. I am so sorry, but it was fine because she also enjoyed the film. I think, if you like. If you want to see an interesting story about, like, that kind of still, the message still holds true today, about, like, parody law and, like, speaking your own mind and freedom of speech. I think all these things are even more relevant than they have been in the past. And so, yeah, I give it like a 3.5. I give it 3.5 because I did like it.
Yeah, I think the thing that's important here is that freedom of speech is not meant to defend popular speech. It's meant to defend speech that you don't like and that isn't popular. And if you don't have freedom of speech to protect unpopular speech, you don't have freedom of speech.
Right.
Because that is the whole point of it.
Right.
The People vs. Larry Flynt is not streaming anywhere. There are Blu-ray discs available. It's also been released on 4K.
Is it not on like a Paramount Plus with an add-on or something?
Nowhere.
Oh.
You can rent it. You can rent it on Google Play.
Okay.
And you can probably rent it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why it hasn't landed anywhere. I'm pretty sure Man on the Moon is on Netflix. Now, for whatever reason, you're going to have to rent or buy this movie. And it's not necessarily the movie that you need to watch a million times.
Yeah.
You kind of see it once and you get it.
Yeah, I would say I give it 3.5 stars, but I stole this movie. And so if I had to pay like $15 for it, my review might be a little more harsh.
The film follows Larry Flynt's trials and tribulations from growing up in extreme poverty to founding Hustler magazine and achieving great financial success. The publication of Hustler magazine got Larry into a lot of trouble with the law, and that leads to a born-again Christian phase where Larry attempts to reshape Hustler into a more tasteful magazine in line with his new Christian values.
But also, you say more tasteful, but he still is like, all right, what if we put a bunch of naked girls on like glass crosses and like...
Yeah, it's weird. He's trying to figure out a way to like... I don't know. It's a weird... And this is... I think he's just kind of a bipolar guy. You know what I mean?
You think so? He just had like a
he had
little
like a fucking
snap
bipolar episode.
Right. And he
Where
was
this...
like, well, I'm religious now. Yeah.
This woman paid a little attention to him and talked to him about his childhood, and it just like fucking made him very emotional, and he fucking
The power
made a brash
of,
decision that he would soon regret.
That's why I'm dating my therapist. You know?
Sounds smart, right? I also let my long-term girlfriend give me cognitive behavioral therapy, and I think it's made our relationship better.
Stronger, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Larry Flynt's born-again phase abruptly ends when he finds himself once again in court. Him and his attorney narrowly survive an assassination attempt. The shooting leaves Flynt a paraplegic, which is ironic because he really enjoyed walking.
And using his penis.
Yeah, exactly. Larry, now without the use of his legs, is even more bipolar than he was before and resumes control of Hustler magazine, where he does wild shit like leak tapes of John DeLorean getting entrapped by the FBI, and then goes to court wearing a fucking American flag as a diaper.
With a shirt that says, fuck this court.
Larry Flynt gets sued by Jerry Falwell over a parody of an alcohol ad that implies that Jerry Falwell lost his virginity to his mother in an outhouse.
Jerry Falwell, by the way, if you don't know, is a
famous preacher,
right? He was televangelist sort of dealy, right?
Yeah.
You go on and talk about
big figure in the the Reagan era and the moral majority of the 80s.
So him having sex with his mother in an outhouse in a liquor ad is pretty outrageous.
Is, I will say, objectively hilarious.
Yeah,
like
sure.
that's what the Supreme Court should have said. They should be like, actually, we've all agreed that this is very funny.
Very funny.
Case dismissed. But
Get out of here.
yeah, it's fucking hilarious, man.
Because
and that's what I always enjoyed about Hustler is the stuff like that, the political satire and shit. It's just so wild.
So off the wall, yeah. Because I think what ultimately happens is that
and irreverent.
It's so irreverent that it proves, like, in court, the guy's like, no one would ever believe that with me. And the lawyers are like, yeah, no one would ever believe this is you. It's obviously parody. It's obviously satire. No one would ever believe that's an actual story, you know? And so I think that is important. That was one of the, like, great takeaways from this thing is that, yeah, people might not want to hear, like, fake slander about them. But if it's so outrageous that it just could never be true, don't get your balls tied in a knot about it. It's a fucking bad joke. It's a tasteless joke.
Yeah, can you even imagine if this court case went the other way? The implications of that would be quite serious. Like for everything from SNL to any type of art and performance.
Yeah, you couldn't show, Mad TV they'd never even be able to make that show.
Yeah.
That whole show is about being brutally mean to, like, celebrities, you know?
Yeah, and this is the big kind of finale of the film. This case ends up getting taken all the way to the Supreme Court. Flynt's wife becomes a drug addict through his like kind of period where he's medicated.
Right. Well, he stays in bed for like 4 years, locked up in his weird vault room with 3 TVs, you know?
Yeah, and then his wife contracts the HIV virus before passing away. And one night, Larry hears Jerry Falwell doing a sermon and moralizing about AIDS. And this becomes the impetus for Flynt to appeal the Falwell decision to the Supreme Court because he wants to be remembered for something meaningful. And the Supreme Court overturns the original verdict in a unanimous decision. After the trial, Larry Flynt is shown to be alone in his bedroom watching old videotapes of a happy and healthy Althea and himself before the assassination attempt. It's a very poignant ending.
Sure.
Very sad.
Yeah, it is kind of sad. I mean, they win the case, but but he's now wifeless, and you know what? Before we really get into the end there, I want to just touch upon Althea and his relationship. It's a movie, so take everything with a grain of salt. It's based on real events, but who knows what their relationship was actually like. But what I did like is that even though they're both like totally wacky, they still obviously love each other. It's like she's dying of AIDS and he can't get her laid, but at the same time,
nothing makes him more furious than when he hears that the people that his wife works with won't shake her hand.
Won't shake her hand, right? She tells him immediately after, she's like, no one's shaking my hand, I have AIDS. And he says, no one's shaking your hand? Nah, he doesn't say, what, you have AIDS? He says, oh, no one's shaking your hand? And that's like the big takeaway from that.
Larry Flynt died in 2021 at the age of 78. His penis and legs died at 36, though, so he went a whole 42 years
without
in
that.
a wheelchair.
Dang.
Which is pretty brutal.
Gold wheelchair.
He did have a gold wheelchair.
Yeah, pretty baller.
And I just think the whole movie works. Even the ending manages to hit that emotional chord without feeling too forced or cheesy. And the reason why Larry Flynt is such an important figure in American popular culture is not just because he pushed the limits of pornography in the 1970s, but it has way more to do with the Supreme Court case against Reverend Jerry Falwell, which ended up protecting the right to parody for everyone. Larry Flynt is definitely not perfect. Some of the things he does in this film are morally questionable, like publishing the nude photographs of Jackie O or giving his future wife moonshine when she's 17.
Underage, yeah.
But also, it's... 17 in the 70s is like 24 now. So it's all kind of relative.
Sure.
Overall, I think Larry Flynt is a true patriot and American hero and somebody that we can, put on a
pedestal?
Bit of a pedestal, yeah.
Okay. Model citizen.
Exactly.
Gary aspires to be a Larry Flynt.
Yeah. I'd love to be a millionaire in a wheelchair.
Is it worth it? Would you trade millionaire for wheelchair?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, no. If someone said, "Here's $1 million, but you can't walk anymore," you think you'd be like, I'll just keep walking.
Russ, these are the type of hypothetical questions that make the show interesting.
What do you guys think? Would you take $1 million to have your dick chopped off?
If you were a grasshopper, would you hang out with tall grass? It's like, what? I don't know. I guess so. Who cares?
Fuck off, Jerry.
That's all I got, Russ. What do you got?
Ooh, bro, that was my best joke. You take $1
yeah.
million to be in a wheelchair.
I will say I find Courtney, the thing that I think Courtney Love's performance in this is fine, it's pretty works, but they sell her as like, oh my God, really makes your head turn. She's so beautiful. And I just don't find Courtney Love very attractive. I find her very off-putting.
Off-putting, okay.
She does have huge tits.
She's got big tits.
And they show her tits a lot in this.
Quite a bit.
But I just don't find her at all attractive.
Yeah.
I don't
she
buy
almost
that.
looks like Woody Harrelson, but girl form.
I don't buy that she would pull this fucking successful dude who has all this pussy. But I guess it's more about...
her attitude.
It's more about her, the perceptions of her, and using her as this part. Like the same way Mel Gibson is used in that movie where they cast him as a racist cop. It's like you kind of know what you're doing.
Right.
You're playing off people's perceptions of this person.
And
it's not a bad way to go about casting, really.
Now, I don't really know much about Courtney Love. Why did she have this? I know
stigma.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people blame her for the death of Kurt Cobain, which I don't know if is really apt.
They were dating, or
they were married, and they
were married, and she bought him the gun, or.
His friend bought him the gun, but I don't know. People think that...
And this was prior to 1996, the movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kurt Cobain died in like 94.
Okay.
People think that Courtney Love used Kurt Cobain to establish a career and that she orchestrated his death and then used it to make herself a Hollywood actress. I don't know if I really buy all this.
I don't know if I buy that. Why would you want that? Why would you want your husband dead?
I think a lot of people are just kind of irrationally hate Courtney Love because they feel like she rode the coattails of Nirvana, and it's kind of not really fair. Courtney Love is a talented musician and performer, and you know.
I mean, obviously,
it's not her fault that her fucking heroin addicted husband blew his fucking head off. Maybe it is. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah. Right. So.
But yeah.
Okay, and because
there's like a documentary called "Soaked in Bleach," which like really pushes the conspiracy theory of Courtney Love killing Kurt Cobain. I don't think I buy it.
Sure. But then by '96, then she already had that stigma because Kurt was dead. And
by '96, I think she parlayed. She became a huge star. Like the whole album that came out after this was huge, and she was in the spotlight for a little bit. And she had this, this little run of Hollywood movies, and then she kind of disappeared.
Yeah, right.
And people have hated her ever since.
She's still alive?
Yeah, still alive.
I feel like she does a really good job throughout this movie. Like her look looks so 70s. 80s. Yeah. She's like,
and Althea was into like punk and metal, and I was reading that she wanted to start a magazine that was like a punk metal subculture magazine, but it ended up happening around the time of the presidential run, and they didn't have the money to do the magazine.
Bummer.
But yeah, so she was kind of on the edge of culture in the 80s and stuff.
Yeah. And like I think her costumes and whatnot and makeup and all that worked for that. Like
I think she works really good, and I find her likable. I just for the part where it's like, oh, she's hot. I don't find her attractive at all. She looks gross to me.
What about
very off-putting to me?
What about that chick from the? She kind of had a similar look to the Waterboy girlfriend.
Yeah, I love that girl from The Craft.
Yeah,
she's so hot.
Okay, you think she's hot?
Yeah,
but they have a similar look, no?
I don't think so at all.
Okay, maybe not facial structure, but like as far as like attitude and like look.
Courtney Love looks like she smells like wet dog food. I can't imagine being sexually attracted to her.
Holy shit, it's too accurate.
But the girl from The Craft is hot. Now I want to know who that is. Fruza Balk.
Oh,
yeah, she's in
Fruza Balk. Yeah, right.
She's in
Return to Oz.
I'm thinking about the Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, Dr. Moreau.
Oh, she was in that?
Yeah, she's like the hot cat daughter, right?
I guess so.
She goes to like bang her and she's got a tail or something.
I've kind of pushed a lot of that movie out of my mind. It's a real clusterfuck, and actually the whole production of that movie was a clusterfuck. But that's for a different podcast.
Fruza Balk is pretty. She's a lot of teeth, but she's very pretty. How dare you, Russ?
Gary, this is why I'm glad Larry Flynt won.
This is why we have this podcast.
I can say whatever I want. You might not agree with it. It's an unpopular opinion, but hey, I said it.
Well, this is why this podcast exists, to get to the bottom of these popular culture phenomenons. The People vs. Larry Flynt did not do great at the box office. It had mostly positive reviews from critics. Feminist Glory Steinem criticized the film's sanitized portrayal of Flynt, stating, "What's left out are the magazine's images of women being beaten, tortured, and raped, women subject to degradations from bestiality to sexual slavery." Gloria Steinem is obviously not the audience for Hustler magazine.
Right.
Her take on it is so bad.
Who is that?
Gloria Steinem. She's kind of known for being like a big figure in second wave feminism. Okay. And now we know that Gloria Steinem was actually an anti-communist CIA agent.
Wow.
Yeah, that came out a few years ago.
Okay. Her and Mike Myers.
Yeah, apparently.
Interesting. Okay. Well, cool. And so she was pretty outspoken on it, and
she did not like it.
Wasn't the reason the movie tanked, but that might have been like a pretty major critique amongst a lot of people who did see it, right?
Yeah, the movie, I think it just barely made its money back. It didn't like bomb or just,
Right. And the movie really isn't about Hustler. The movie is about this guy and the whole court legal system battles that he fought. I'm sure there's lots of problems. There's problems with pornography, just because people being degraded and people being used, and it's not a great industry, but it is an industry, and it does make people who need money have some money here and there.
Internet porn is so much worse than porno magazines. I think porno magazines were basically healthy. The difference in video content and like what it does to your brain, and people have studied this.
Sure.
The comparison of reading a nudie magazine compared to internet porn is so vastly different. I think internet porn is so bad for you.
Super bad for you.
And I don't think magazines were that bad for you. I don't think you had porn addiction where in the 70s people couldn't get hard to fuck their girlfriends because they were reading too many Playboys. It didn't.
Right.
That's not how
That's
it
not
worked.
a thing. Right.
That's a modern problem.
You had to use your imagination when you found that old
Yeah.
VHS cover in the
You
bushes.
still had to use your
behind you.
imagination. It was just much more innocent and better for you.
Sure.
And unfortunately,
And now imagination's been killed with so much porn, and now AI porn.
porn addiction is a serious problem.
Yeah, no, it seriously is. It affects. I don't have numbers on it, but
And imagine,
it affects
like,
way too many people.
We could talk about what internet porn has done to people's brains and whatnot. Imagine what AI porn is going to do to people's brains when you're getting off to things that don't actually exist and are impossible to actually.
Isn't that just imagination, Gary?
It's the end of human civilization. If you start to be sexually attracted to things that aren't real, that's the end of humanity.
You think
Unless
so?
all babies are going to be made in test tubes.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, I'll throw something else at you. So Woody Harrelson's brother, who, when I watched this, I recognized him from Dusk Till Dawn 2.
Oh,
And
okay.
apparently, he moved to Hollywood
Made a
with
sequel?
Woody. He originally wanted to be an actor, and then he got like tired of it, and he became like a motorcycle racer or a bike racer, and he was actually kind of successful.
Okay.
And then I think he almost got injured or something. He was just like,
Makes
dude,
sense.
I don't want to do this anymore. Can I like get in movies? And he just had his brother like put him in like 2 movies, and he tried to like launch a movie career. But it is great because the actual brother, so it kind of works in the movie. And he's not bad in the movie. I don't find his performance bad.
It's fine. Yeah.
So, but he did not have a great career. Didn't really
you
take
can't
off.
shoehorn nepotism into every single movie.
No, unfortunately not.
You can. It's the only reason movies are made. You're someone's fucking
Oh,
cousin.
it's so fucking true. If you're like a Kennedy and you want to get like an independent movie made, you'll get the money.
You're gonna get it. Yeah.
But it ain't me, Russ. You know what
It
I'm
ain't
saying?
me.
I ain't no
It
senator's
ain't
son.
me. Yeah. The end.